I think society tells us that masculinity is a desirable trait. Like, you know, men are powerful, men, you know, that whole thing of you want a man to take care of you.
First of all, it's just a physical thing of like lots of masculine men being really attractive, so even if there are parts of their personality that you find disagreeable or toxic, you still can't help to be drawn to them.
The idea of a strong man is desirable, but also it's kind of scary, because it's like these are the men that you have been harassed by.
I think it's kind of like there's the kind of growing up in the culture where there's quite a lot of like from a very young age, boys are very much like you can't cry, you have to act a certain way. So there's a lot of like internalized like kind of homophobia and like misogyny and kind of ideas about masculinity are kind of forced onto you as a kid, and it can be quite hard to shake. So I think it's kind of a product of that people are like, oh, I have to be like this and I have to date this sort of person because then that makes me like the type of person I was told I was supposed to be as a kid.
No matter how much you try to escape from toxic masculinities, we are still a product of the cultures we grow up in, and unfortunately we live in a very sort of patriarchal, very like masculine, dominant culture. It's hard to divorce yourself from those factors, from factors of religion as well.
I think I describe myself as possibly masculine, outwardly appearing. But then kind of my personality, I guess, more slightly feminine. Like, I do admit that I'm quite camp. I don't mind being camp.
In terms of gender, I'd be male. But I guess I'd express more, not feminine, but I suppose I'd come across more feminine to people.
I would characterise myself as more masculine, but I would be laced with a feminine trait.
Realising that I was trans and that I was a gay trans guy is really messy, because you get this really toxic community, I find, of trans guys online, where it's, I knew I was trans because I played with action men. I played with Barbies as well. It
depends on the situation or the scenario that I find myself in. I don't purposefully become more feminine or masculine, but normally when I'm around more feminine people, I just become more feminine.
Some probably very stereotypical masculine things I do, like I like playing sports and all that.
But when I'm around, for example, on my hockey team, I would become more masculine because it's just a sort of social setting that I kind of fit into.
I mean, like, I'm interested in sports, that's kind of masculine, but I also am a big Lady Gaga fan, so I guess that's like kind of the opposite thing. I don't know, I guess I'm somewhere in between. I don't really think about how I dress, I just try and do what looks good on me, what colours look good on me. I don't think about what if a boy or a girl wore it.
I'll try and incorporate like more kind of like earrings, funky socks, like different items of clothing that I maybe wouldn't wear, more metallics. But like it's scary like going into it, but like, and I feel like when I wear something for like this and like I'd be on stage if I was doing like a drag show, that's fine because like people are watching me. But like if I start to wear like stuff like this every day, it's almost like I'm putting on a show every day, and that's not really what I want to do. So it's like difficult. But then of course there are people who do dress kind of like different and outside the box every day, but that's who they are, they're not putting on a show. So it's like really hard to pinpoint, because I do want to like dress a little bit more unconventionally, but it's all about like, do I want to like mix those two parts of my life? And like when I feel like when I'm dressing like this, I feel like so empowered, and I feel like I can be like, yes, anything I want. Then when I go into my more masculine clothing, I feel like I'm just like a little bit more like prone to those like issues that you have, less like, oh, like gay depression, gay loneliness, all that kind of stuff that there is. But I'm like this, I feel like I just don't know how to incorporate that.
I wanted to wear blazers and shirts and like really short haircuts that I didn't actually like, just so I could get that across to be that kind of man.
kind of find that masculine and feminine traits I need a mixture of the two for me to be attracted to someone. But there are certain things definitely, but I feel like at the same time you are attracted to what you are as well, or you're trying to find your likeness in what you're attracted to, and I find generally that stuff that I find in myself, like more masculine traits, is stuff that like I find more attractive.
A certain bit of masculinity is kind of needed for me, because I don't have it. To a point, after it gets past like, oh, it just kind of, it's off-putting.
Possibly just going back to secondary school when you felt isolated by masculinity and the straight male groups, but also were really attracted to them, and especially in school when, you know, there's crushes left, right and centre. I suppose it's almost that reminder of like the like cute school guys you couldn't get with because they were straight.
There's many a night out where I've been like in the George or whatever, and I've just been there and there's this person there and they're like, you're so pretty, and I just like can't decide whether it's like I really really want to be you or be like have you inside me.
Masculinity is really nice, but you have to detach it from kind of a stereotype. You have to remember that it's more of an aesthetic.
Masculinity is definitely attractive, but also, you know, there's elements of it if it's too strong in someone that they're not really expressing themselves fully, because I truly don't believe that every man is masculine and every woman is feminine. Everyone sits somewhere on the spectrum and it's totally fluid. So I don't like when people think too much about that, because I just think that's poisonous.
Like I would be kind of attracted to older guys a lot, and sometimes that's cool depending on who the guy is. But then other times I'd be really embarrassed or ashamed of who I've had sex with or who I'm attracted to, and so in order to counteract that, it's kind of like, oh, those guys are just creeps. But then I feel like some guys kind of live for that kind of attention, and that's not a bad thing at all. I love attention.
Everybody likes bears.
I identify as bisexual, but I am attracted to women, but a lot of us are, and it's like me included, are grow up with the idea that we're only meant to be attracted to femininity and to females and to things that are feminine. Then we realize maybe we're realizing what we're missing out on in life, and that's, you know, then we start to express ourselves in the way that we truly are, and that kind of slides us from this sort of like masculinity side of the spectrum into the middle somewhere, and we feel like we might want someone in our lives to balance us, I guess.
I used to get very sort of like self-conscious when I was around sort of very flamboyant man. That was very kind of harking back to secondary school where it was kind of like I'd feel self-conscious but a little bit safe, because I was like, oh, they're much kind of like more kind of like their gender expression is a lot more kind of loud and out there than mine, so I felt a little bit safer than, so it's kind of like, oh, everyone's looking at their gayness, so they're not looking at my gayness as much.
The first when I came out, it was always a bit intimidating to be around the more like feminine gay people because in a way they just seem so much more visible, and it's kind of more like puts a target on their backs in a way. But once I got used to it and embraced more of that myself, it doesn't really bother me anymore.
Well, at least in my experiences, yeah, no one's like kind of like looked at me differently for being flamboyant. They're kind of just like, oh, that was what Jack was all along, just a little bit less tied back and tied down.
When I was younger and stuff, I was definitely more feminine character. So what happened was I was bullied horrifically, of course. But yeah, no, even to this day, like straight lads, like, yeah, no, they definitely are intimidating.
I've certainly worked with people, been friendly with people, where if I maybe showed off my more feminine traits, they might back away slightly or start to treat me slightly differently or almost be on guard around me, and it's not a very nice thing to notice, because you know, you think in your head, okay, these people think I'm going to try and have sex with them.
If you're a certain type of like fun gay, you're allowed to be more flamboyant because it's like you're fitting that type too. If you're entertaining, you get more of a pass on other things. But that's true about probably most things in life.
Ever since I've come out and it presented more in a masculine way, I've noticed that I've got harassed from straight men less, and it kind of puts into perspective how scary that straight men are, because like I used to be afraid to like walk down to the shops that like in the night time, but now I'm not so much because they're not trying to target me.
I think one reality I had, a kind of a reality check, was a friend of mine went to a club for her birthday, and it was it was a regular club, as in a straight club as opposed to a gay club. Obviously it was going to be uncomfortable because who there is going to date a gay trans guy? None of them are going to, let alone kind of understand it for the most part. Since I present myself slightly more effeminate, I did get hit on by somebody, and I was just kind of like, listen, I'm not going to bother explaining to you, I'm just going to say no. And even at that, this guy still kind of pressed on, and it was really not a fun night for me. I ended up leaving early, just because it was so uncomfortable, and knowing that this is the kind of situation that straight girls have to go through.
What I found is that whenever I go out or hang out with my straight friends, I'm never conscious of how I look, or like of how I look, or if people are going to be talking about me, or people are going to be bitching about me, because that's just not their culture. In the queer community, whenever I'm around queer people, maybe in a club or something, I'm always thinking, am I too drunk? Are people judging me? Like he was talking about me, or she was talking about me previously, and it gives a lot of anxiety.
I do think, yeah, when I get very vocal, I do think well, straight people can get a bit put off. I guess I like making straight people uncomfortable, especially if I feel empowered with with feminine acting gay men. And I overheard a conversation between these two guys. So this one guy stopped another guy, and he was like, "Oh, hey, buddy, listen to me. No, listen to me. What do you think of this? You know how there's like LGBT pride? What if we had an everyone pride? Imagine everyone, gay, straight, trans, all marching under a white flag. Like, sister, straight people don't need pride."
I think mass men would tend to be more closed-minded, so therefore they give a harder time to feminine men, like famous example in the gay scene would be mask into mask.
The most loathsome term of all time, straight acting.
I liked a guy who had mask into mascara as a good rebuttal to that. Like, I think that although there definitely would be queer people who would be intimidated by kind of more masculine men maybe, and wouldn't want to be that close to them most of the time, I don't think they treat them in the nasty way that they're treated by masculine men.
You can be really masculine and hyper masculine, but also it's not toxic, it's just who you are. Being hyper masculine is just as okay as being hyper feminine. It's just, as long as you can be who you are, it's totally fine.
Whether you're effeminate or you're questioning of whether you're masculine, because if you're hyper masculinizing yourself, that can be damaging to yourself, even if you're not an effeminate person.
I guess a lot of it is really down to exposure, lack of exposure of kind of one community or one field of experience to the other.
People just need to open up and be like willing to like talk to and have experiences with people outside their own social kind of sphere and the social world. So like if you were, for example, a very like hyper masculine gay man who's like obsessed with, I don't know, like gym and like sports and stuff, I don't know, just for once take yourself out of your comfort zone and just like see what, even just talk to like a very like a flamboyant or feminine acting gay man, just to see like what their perspective on things are, because we're not going to get anywhere if we just don't communicate and talk to each other.
When I was younger, like I like didn't know what a trans what a trans person was, but then I suppose like maybe in like TY I like heard one or I heard of what it was, and third year, and yeah, it was a little confusing and it took me a little while, but like my mind was open. So like it's about all about like just like education, helping with like different like kind of people coming into our lives, and being okay with that, and being okay that you don't always understand what that person's about and who they are, but being okay that they are that person.
It's funny, there are some young gay men that I know who are quite ignorant of pretty much all gay history and anything to do with how we got our rights. But then I know an equal amount of young gay men and women and queer people who are more, you know, focused and more progressive and more aligned with my own point of view and thoughts and opinions. When I actually met a guy recently who's gay and he's nearly 70, and he had all the same opinions as me. So it's like, it really, really depends.
For me, when I am like this is me at my most masculine, I guess. So yeah, femininity is a kind of a path to masculinity is an interesting one, I think, because without femininity, masculinity is nothing really.